So, I watched the trailer for Upload a while back, and I wasn't particularly impressed by it. I didn't feel like the humor really seemed to land, the characters seemed really bland, and it just reminded me of Downsizing, which was a terrible movie with Matt Damon. They even used the same song in the trailer that they used in the trailer for that film with Matt Damon. But I was really surprised after a few episodes. I'm digging it. So, Upload on Prime Video is created and written and directed in a number of episodes by Greg Daniels, who was the creative mastermind behind, to me, The Office is his most amazing accomplishment. I love that show. My wife is constantly binge watching it. She finishes one binge watch and then she starts another. And I came into this with more of an open mind just because of Greg Daniels and I feel like the talent that he obviously has. And right off the bat, I feel like, you're going to have a ton of people saying, don't compare this to The Office. And honestly, you really shouldn't because it's not really like The Office. But before I get into more of my thoughts, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. And if you like anything I say, please consider giving me a like. I'd really appreciate that too. So here's what's going on with Upload. So in Upload, it's the story of this character played by Robbie Amell, and the character's name is Nathan Brown. And he's this man who gets to choose his own afterlife after his untimely death in a car accident. And essentially, he gets uploaded digitally to this afterlife. And this is a lot like the Black Mirror episode San Junipero. And there's also a lot of other world-building aspects to this show that reminded me of Black Mirror episodes, except it's a much more upbeat and positive view of the future. But it asks a lot of the same questions and investigates a lot of the same things that Black Mirror does. And the world building here is really what makes this work. I think that the characters, while they're okay, they don't really stand out from most of the really pretty by-the-numbers sitcoms that I've been seeing on NBC lately. I feel like if this were not being done so well from a world building perspective, it wouldn't work. But the world building is really fantastic, whether from the self-driving cars on the highway that the main characters can have sex or play video games or do whatever they want while the car drives them where they want to go, to the world of Lakeview, which is the digital afterlife that the main character has been uploaded to. I feel like they've just done a really good job of thinking out the afterlife and what it would look like, but also just executing it. The CGI is really good, and this is where most of the humor comes from. It's the visual gags that are executed, and Greg Daniels said it was almost like a cartoon in that they were working with so much CGI, and that the way that they execute the visual gags was very, very cartoonish, and I completely agree with that. And there aren't, to be honest, there weren't a lot of belly laughs for me in the first three episodes that I've watched. I felt like, the humor was amusing, but it wasn't like making me guffaw or anything like that. But it's more, like I said, focused on visual gags and on the ideas that it's causing the viewer to see enacted than it is on, character-based humor like The Office was. Because The Office, you had all these actors that were just improvising all over the place and they were playing just these iconic characters. And like I said, I think the characters here are kind of bland. I can't imagine, and this is where you wonder how much potential this show has for multiple seasons, because it has a very interesting high concept, but I don't feel like I would want to spend endless amounts of time with these particular characters, because I think that they're functional, they drive the plot forward well enough, but if the plot ever stopped humming along, I'm not sure how interested I would be in spending time with these people in this world, because I think after a while that would get old. And you can already see the repetitiveness of this afterlife in the early episodes of this season. Now, other reasons to not compare it to The Office, obviously, As I said, I don't think the characters are terribly memorable. I think the best character in the show for my money so far, Nathan Brown, he's pretty bland, but Robbie Amell has a lot of charisma. He's kind of an odd lead for a comedy show because he's not really an everyman. I feel like he seems like he could be a digital avatar for a person, like an idealized digital avatar. He's just so good looking. But the most interesting character from my perspective is Nora Anthony, played by Andy Allo. And there's shades of The Office here in that she is this customer service representative who's trying to help Nathan have the best afterlife experience that he can. And she's falling in love with him while he's kind of in a hostage situation with his girlfriend, who is kind of holding the purse strings that are, allowing him to make purchases in the afterlife. And the character of Ingrid, the girlfriend, they haven't done a lot with her so far in the first few episodes, but I think there's potential for that plot line to be interesting as it goes forward. But this show is more serialized than The Office ever was, because The Office was always kind of just episodic, and that allowed it to be really humorous and just a place where you'd go to hang out. Whereas there's very much a plot going on, and you find out in the early episodes that it's very, very likely that someone killed Nathan because he died in a car accident. And obviously in the future, cars are self-driven. So how would that happen? That's a little fishy. And then it becomes obvious that someone is removing his memories. So he's trying to sort that out and figure out why someone would want to kill him. And there are numerous suspects so far. It could be his friend who he was inventing an app with. It could be his girlfriend. Maybe she wanted to put him in the afterlife so that she could get a hold of his purse strings and hold on to him. It kind of seemed like he wasn't, he was one bad day away from breaking up with her before this. So the show has a lot of potential. I didn't expect to like it, and I do. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the season with my wife. I was going to investigate it before we watched it together, but I think I'm going to hold off and watch the rest of it with her. I highly recommend you check it out if you're a fan of Greg Daniels' work. And if you're a fan of stuff like Black Mirror, I might give it a go, but just because I feel like the CGI and the afterlife are very well thought out, and just the future that they've created is really interesting. The world building is really well done. Like I said, not the funniest show, not the most charismatic leads, not the most iconic characters compared to some of Greg Daniels' other shows, but I think that the world building and the ideas so far are really strong. And what the show is really exploring is how technology separates us from our humanity and what it means to be human. And there's a lot of interesting ideas playing out that are deeper than you typically see in network sitcoms. For instance, it's exploring the fact that even though AI is technically perfect in that it's not going to have all the flaws and problems that a human being is going to have, it can't speak with pain and passion and soul. And, like The Office, I would say a big theme here is that life is worth living because it's not perfect, and that if life were perfect, it would be less interesting and it would be less satisfying. So those are my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Upload. I highly recommend you check it out. And if you've already checked it out, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you think that the leads were more interesting than I did? Do you like the world building? Were there any gags that just made you laugh out loud? I haven't hit that point with this show yet, but maybe there will be funnier gags as it goes on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, you can watch more videos right now.